Now what will it be? Death or exile?
Hello everyone and welcome to another edition of the TV Exiles. This week we are continuing our look at HBO's series Watchmen. As a reminder, we will be covering each episode with more spoilers as we discuss the growing narrative. So let's get into episode 7. And let's start with the official synopsis from HBO. Angela undergoes treatment, Blake chases a lead, and the smartest man in the world goes to court. My ongoing question every week has been, is this Watchmen? The answer, surprisingly, is yes. So much of this episode revolves around Dr. Manhattan, and that really helps the show finally feel like it's from that world of the graphic novel. Right from the opening, we are shown documentary footage of him in his huge form walking through the war in Vietnam. Obviously, this is supposed to be actual footage of him, so it's far less stylized than the comparable scene in Zack Snyder's 2009 film. The scene is another flashback to young Angela Abar living in the post-war Vietnam, which is interesting to see, and how the post-war looks on the state as it becomes more Americanized. There is a divide on how the population views Dr. Manhattan. Some see him as a devil, and others view him as with almost a religious awe, which is the title of the episode, and it's coming from Dr. Manhattan's quote from the book about how some Vietnamese who surrendered to him personally looked upon him as a god. We see Angela find her future masked name in an action film VHS tape called Sister Night. Her parents are not keen on letting her watch the film as her father has a troubled past with masked heroes, his father being Hooded Justice, as we learned in last week's episode. As Angela goes to return the tape she purchased, a suicide bomber attacks, killing many people, including Angela's parents. And following this attack, we see her need for justice born, as she confirms an accomplice from the bombing and tries to watch his execution. It is here the police officer gives young Angela her first police badge, setting her down that path. This segment was great for building up the world in the post-alternate Vietnam War, as well as great character building for Angela. Some viewers will recognize the young actress as the little sister Darla from Shazam. I thought she was great in this episode, and I was glad to see her grow as an actress. Moving back to modern day, the plot is starting to thicken in Tulsa. We see the Looking Glass was attacked by the 7th Cavalry and killed 5 of them. He is nowhere to be found, but one of his assailants is missing their Rorschach mask. Obviously, this is not the last we will see of Looking Glass as we get closer to the end of the series. Lori goes to confront Jed Crawford's widow to tell her what she knows about her husband's murder. In a great moment, she's taken off guard when Crawford's wife confesses that the conspiracy is real, but bigger than Lori knows. The fun comes from a trapdoor that refuses to work properly and just adds to Lori's confusion. The door finally opens to drop her into the hands of the 7th Cavalry. Later, the scene continues to showcase her great sarcastic humor as Senator Keene is confessing his master plan, and Lori just repeatedly tells him she doesn't care. This is where the first big reveal comes, as Keene reveals his plan to become blue, as in Dr. Manhattan. This finally shuts Lori up as she finally realizes the gravity of the situation. During all this, we are also witnessing Angela's struggle to recover from the nostalgia she took in last week's episode. As she escapes her room, she encounters Lady True, who reveals that Dr. Manhattan is not on Mars, but has been living in human form in Tulsa all along. The strangest part of this being is that Angela seems unfazed by the revelation and can't even be bothered to ask who he was. And that leads to the final twist, and the biggest of the show so far. It's revealed that Angela's husband Cal has been Dr. Manhattan the whole time, but has suppressed his memory somehow to not even know himself. We see Angela brutally beat his head in with a hammer and then pull an unknown object out in the shape of Dr. Manhattan's emblem. And in the final moment, we see his blue glow illuminate Angela before the episode ends. This episode has been our biggest yet for reveals, and I finally feel that we are getting somewhere with only 2 episodes left. On the technical side, it was great. The very few shots of Dr. Manhattan look great in a more realistic way than the film, and we are treated to more great shots of Lady True's Millennium Clock. It's a very cool design, even if we don't know its purpose yet. And normally, here's where I would talk about Easter eggs. But this episode seemed to be very light on hidden gems. The most notable being the title of the episode being a direct reference to a line from the book. One thing I would like to point out is the hint of Dr. Manhattan's identity. Earlier this season, we see Laurie Blake take out a giant Dr. Manhattan dildo. The product name of that toy is called Excalibur, or Excalibur. So there was a hint way back to the character's true identity. And finally, there are only 2 episodes left in this season. I have not necessarily loved the show, but I'm still very intrigued by how the season ends. I hope the last moments can really sway me into loving it. And that will do it for this week. Until next time, stay exiled.